local forecast on the Weather Channel.
This time tomorrow, Floyd will be nothing more than a bad memory for many people along the eastern seaboard. It's racing away to the northeast, but many cities, including Boston, will spend the weekend drying out. In New York, people were urged to stay home until after Floyd blew through the Big Apple. And although it's weakening, Floyd had enough clout left to leave damage in the Middle Atlantic region. Good evening, I'm Paul Goodlow, and welcome to the special edition of Weather Center. I am covering the nation's weather from coast to coast and have that Friday forecast coming up. But first, we're tracking Floyd, and here's Christina Abernathy in the Forecast Center.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul. We want to take a closer look now at the latest on how this is affecting folks along the East Coast. And there have been a lot of repercussions, including morning drivers in New York and Philadelphia who can expect a rough commute tomorrow morning, or actually a normal commute. Friday will be a bit windy, but there is little chance for rain, so things are going to look better there. In New York, the Long Island Railroad is running close to schedule, and the subways are now running. Right now in Massachusetts, thousands are without power, and heavy rains are causing severe flooding in that state. Well, now we're going to look at what the latest is as far as the coordinates, and it's centered now at 40.6 north, 73.5 west. That puts the center about 25 miles east-southeast of New York City. The maximum sustained winds 65 miles per hour, moving to the north-northeast very quickly at 30 miles per hour, and the pressure 974 millibars. We still have those tropical storm warnings from Cape Charles northward to the Merrimack River. We also have gale warnings in effect, including parts of North Carolina and Virginia, also from the Merrimack River northward to Eastport, Maine, where winds could be 39 to 54 miles per hour. And in addition, flooding is expected to be a major concern here in the Northeast as a lot of rain is falling, and Floyd is actually soaking most of New England tonight. So a lot of wet weather, a lot of concern about flooding for folks there. Now we're going to take a look at some scenes from Boston, and check this out. Roads and streets were underwater as Floyd pumped rain across the region. The water is very deep in some areas, so it's always best to avoid those flooded roads. Well, of course, we have been covering the situation live up and down the East Coast throughout the event, and we're joined now from Long Island, New York by Jim Cantore. Jim, what's the latest?
And Christina, we continue to see the storm, the worst of Floyd, continue to push on off to our northeast. Winds are out of the northwest now, and it's a cool northwest wind, a fall-like northwest wind tonight. You mentioned all that rain in southern New England. This area did not get that much rain from Dennis. And southern New England got crushed. They had about 5 to 10 inches. Now you're adding Floyd's moisture onto that. there's going to be a lot of problems up there with some downed trees and power lines, no doubt. But here on Long Island, we had 42,000 folks reported without power. And the good news is the winds tonight are not back up to tropical storm force. There's no rain in the area. This is rain that's coming off the rooftop of this overhang I'm standing under. And, so no doubt they're going to get the power back on. So some good news here in this area. No worse than what you would deal with a winter nor'easter, that's for sure. The biggest problem on Long Island is going to be the beach erosion. Let me show you why. Let's go ahead and show you Long Beach, which is just about 3 miles down the road here. The wave action very rough in this area earlier on today. And as we spoke with the town superintendent, he did express that was the biggest concern to us, the beach erosion problems. But that is something, like I said, that you would typically get during a nor'easter as well. Few trees, few power lines down or pushed over, if you will, and that loss of power. Interesting little tidbit for you, Christina. The town of Hempstead is bigger, believe it or not, in population than 6 different states that we have. There's more people in this town of Hempstead on Long Island than there are in 6 different states. How about that? And here's what we got for you tonight. Behind Floyd, shots of the moon. A pleasant sight indeed. The ceilings have lifted and the air is much, much drier. So the worst of Floyd is definitely bypassed us. It's just a matter of getting life back to normal tomorrow and watching out tonight if you've got to head out for some of those low-lying areas which are still filled with water. Back to you, Christina.
All right, Jim, some good news there, and we wish folks there the best.
Okay.
Well, we have another crew on the scene from Atlantic City, New Jersey. That's where Dean Staley joins us live. Dean?
Well, Christina, conditions are about the same here. In fact, they may have improved just a little bit. Just a steady offshore breeze right now and a light drizzle. The winds have actually diminished over the last half hour or so, but just as Jim was saying, up on Long Island, it is quite cool here. It does not feel like a tropical system at all. The breeze blowing through here is very cool. In fact, the cool weather has actually chased a lot of the tourists off of the boardwalk and back into the casinos, folks who had come out to sort of check out the surf for a while. And as Jim was saying, not a lot of damage here either. Things are looking pretty good along here in Atlantic City and along the New Jersey coast. No reports of any serious damage. We do have some spotty power outages, and of course, just as Jim mentioned, people should be careful driving around this area this evening. Watch out for low-lying area, although I have to tell you, we're still getting a lot of cloud cover here and just a light drizzle, so things have not yet cleared up here, and that is the very latest from Atlantic City. Christina?
All right, Dean Staley, thanks a lot for that report. Well, we continue with our expert analysis of Tropical Storm Floyd. For the latest, we go to John Hope at the expert desk.
Well, thank you, Christina. And the good thing about Floyd tonight is it's making a very fast exit. We're glad to be able to report that because as it moves on to the northeast, the rain is ending, and it's going to be ending everywhere in probably the northeastern part of the U.S. before morning anyway. Let me show you a satellite picture and we can sort of verify that. And where you see the purples here is where the heaviest rain is. And it's virtually ended now in New York City. It's ended in Philadelphia. It's still raining pretty hard up around Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Pennsylvania, but even in a couple hours that ought to be ending as well. But it didn't get out here in time before it caused a lot of trouble as far as rain. The rain in the greater Philadelphia area was tremendous. It's caused a lot of urban and stream flooding there. And the rain, thankfully, has ended, so it'll take a little while for some of the creeks and so on to subside. So be very careful out there. Don't get in any water with swift currents, whatever you do. Now, as we look at New York, the rain, as Jim Cantori indicated, down Long Island is virtually ended there, too. Still raining pretty heavily up along the Hudson River Valley in New York. And if we take a back off here, we can see the whole rain shield already moving up into the maritime provinces of Canada and covers a tremendous area, but moving at least as fast as the storm is, about 30 miles an hour or so. Still some very, very heavy rain under some of these areas that we're showing you here. Now, flash flood warnings by county are in all these counties here depicted in green. As you see, they extend all the way from North Carolina, Virginia, up into New England, especially concentrated in the eastern part of Pennsylvania and the southeastern part of New York. Thankfully, in most cases, we don't think there was enough there for the rivers, main stem rivers, to flood. The Susquehanna River, even though they got pretty heavy rain there in the Susquehanna Valley, it didn't persist long enough to produce anything like the kind of flooding we saw in 1952. Here we see still up here in southern Massachusetts, that's about the windiest place, gusts of 52 miles an hour just this past hour. Our forecast swath indicates that this is going to be moving rapidly, and by Friday morning, tomorrow morning, we'll be virtually out of the United States altogether. Finally, out here in the Atlantic, I know some are anxious about that. We have this powerful Hurricane Gert, top winds up to 130 miles an hour. Pressure all the way down to 941 millibars, moving though toward the west-northwest. So this anticipated turn to the west-northwest has begun. We think this is going to clear the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands very nicely, and after that turn even more to the north, well off the east coast of the United States. We don't want to get that close to the United States, and we don't think it will do that either. Now, this is what it looks like on a satellite picture, still a very well-formed hurricane, but here are the Leeward Islands. You see it's well away from there and turning toward the west-northwest, and expected again to turn toward the north. And as far as we can see right now, stay well out of sea. We hope we'll miss Bermuda. We might have to watch that for a day or two to make sure that it does. So that's it for this time. Now let's go back to Christina in the Forecast Center.
All right, John, thanks a lot. Well, we want to remind you that if you have plans to travel along the eastern seaboard, you may want to rethink those plans. Major airports in New York, New Jersey, Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. are reporting a huge volume of cancellations. Delta, United, and several other airlines have canceled many flights in cities along the East Coast. So the best thing to do is check in with your airline before heading to the airport. Again, call your airline, not the airport, for flight information. And if you're traveling by train or bus, it would also be good to call ahead. Amtrak has suspended train service to many eastern cities. So that's how it stands now, the latest on Tropical Storm Floyd. We'll continue to keep you updated, but a reminder that if you can't be near your TV and you need additional information, you can always check us out online at weather.com. But for now, we head back to the studio for the rest of the country's weather.
Thanks, Christina. Well, across the nation, outside of Floyd here in the northeast, the rest of the eastern half of the U.S., well, it's dominated by this high pressure. With high pressure here in the northern hemisphere, we have a clockwise flow, so it's actually bringing in cooler, drier air from Canada. In fact, dew points have fallen all throughout this region. In fact, in parts of northern Florida, the dew points were in the 40s. This is quite refreshing. Even like in Jacksonville and Daytona, seeing dew points in the 40s and 50s. And actually, that dry air will continue throughout the day tomorrow. I'll show you more in the forecast. But out towards the west, we still have this persistent upper-level low spinning around the four corners, not only bringing you some cloud cover, some showers, some severe thunderstorms as well. In fact, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the next 20 minutes in parts of northern Arizona. The good news is most of the thunderstorms in this area have died down. A few stronger thunderstorms right around Interstate 10 as you head west from Phoenix. Also southwest of Phoenix, a few thunderstorms continue to rumble, but the sun is setting and we're losing the heating, a lot of the extra energy to cause some of these storms to go severe. So it looks like we're going to be pretty quiet tonight eventually here in the southwest. Across the border in New Mexico, just a few showers. Again, these are dying down as well. You know, yesterday we had anywhere from golf ball to baseball size hail. No reports of large hail this evening. High temperatures today, still warm in the deserts, 95 in Vegas, 98 in Phoenix, but right along the coast, temperatures still kind of cool. They have an onshore flow. Seattle, your high was only 64 degrees, 67 in San Francisco. Downtown in LA, 73 was your high. To the Midwest, the high pressure is anchored here, so it continues to bring the cooler, drier air from Canada. Marquette, 62 was your high, 69 in Green Bay, 68 in Chicago, 70 was your high today in Detroit. St. Louis, a little bit warmer, 74 degrees. To the southeast we go, where still some 90s for high temperatures in Houston, in San Antonio, and Brownsville. Dallas, you cooled off to 87 degrees today, 82 in Little Rock, 79 in Nashville. Again, this is where the cooler, drier air has filtered in. Take a look at Atlanta. 81 was your high, and dew point very low in this region. The northeast, Jim Canteri was talking about the more fall-like winds. Even though the high was 75 degrees in New York City, upstate, the high in Albany only 56 degrees. We had a front in this region. It's kind of stalled out here at the surface. Cooler air, the moist tropical air from Floyd overrunning it, causing all the heavy rain, and now that cooler air is filtering in behind that storm system. So it is in the 50s currently in many locations in the northeast. Now here's that died out frontal boundary. By tomorrow morning, that is gone, along with Floyd up into the New England region. High pressure will bring in the cooler, drier air, great for recovery efforts. Lots of sunshine breaking out throughout the day and moving on right behind Floyd. So once the rain stops, the clouds will give way in a couple hours, then the sunshine comes in. And by midday, we're talking drying conditions in Boston, and by the evening, perhaps a few lingering showers that will wrap around moisture, but definitely drier air helping to eat up a lot of those showers as well. Heaviest rain just a few, perhaps a half inch out towards the west. But again, the heaviest with Floyd, upwards to 5 inches. And take a look at the overnight lows. We're talking 40s and even some 30s in parts of the Midwest, and even the 40s extending down towards the Atlanta area. High temperatures tomorrow. Look at Central Florida. You're only in the 80s tomorrow, but the Northeast still kind of chilly behind Floyd. Highs only in the 50s and in the 60s. Well, stay with us. We'll let you know how many airports have reported arrival delays because of Hurricane Floyd as we take a look at travel conditions from coast to coast. Stay with us.